Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you ever so much for joining us today. And for those who are watching on the replay, thank you ever so much. If you have any questions in the future, we will be sharing our email and contact address and everything, and you can actually download this presentation. To introduce ourselves, if you're here live, you will see that we're actually in a beautiful room actually that you can scroll down to, and you can see Amber's and my faces. We haven't put our cameras on in this part of the presentation because actually we wanted to make it that you could see most of the screen and be able to read anything that was on the slides. So my name is Jackie King and I'm the CEO and founder of If Everyone Cares CIC, and we are the creators of aDoddle.org community mapping. I've got 15 years plus of experience in working around community mapping and doing conversational research around it. What would be useful, what's beneficial. We started with the people in the communities first and then worked up. So it was what they wanted and what they needed. And I would like to introduce you to Amber. Well, actually, I'm going to ask Amber to introduce herself.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Yes, I'm Amber. I work with Jackie and aDoddle as admin support. I joined aDoddle, about 3.5 years ago now as a Kickstart apprentice, and that role developed into what it is today, supporting Jackie on a day-to-day basis with admin, planning, the general everyday running of aDoddle and events like these. And as Jackie said before, I'll be here to read any messages and questions in the chat and pass them on to Jackie for you.
Thank you so much, Amber. What Amber doesn't say is that she is my support because I have a number of hidden disabilities. So, as well as being dyslexic, autistic, ADHD, Amber helps me with all of those things around the work. So it is actually a specialist support that she gives me. Right, welcome. So it's about making it aDoddle for people to find help and support in their communities. Welcome. Please share in the chat where you're joining us from. Is there a specific reason for your interest in community mapping? That would be wonderful to hear, because then Amber can pass that on to me. And if I can include something else in the presentation that helps you to get that even better value from it, then that would be wonderful. So, housekeeping. This is being recorded. Health and safety. If you are somewhere where a fire alarm goes off, please do leave, because we're not in control of that. We're using Go Brunch, which is an amazing platform and has the ability to have these incredible virtual rooms. There's time for Q&A at the end, and the last slide will share the contact details. But so you can download this presentation, and you can also we'll also share contact details in the chat. So we live in a world where we can find everything at the touch of the button, or do we? Now, for this presentation, please be aware that some of these slides are going to be quite text heavy. That's why we'd like to recommend that you download it, because we'll skip through them rather than waiting 5 minutes for people to have read it. But you'll know where they are so that you can come back and access everything. During the presentation, we'll explore various benefits of community mapping with a focus on our platform and its potential to create social value and impact. Some slides are detailed, as I said, but you'll have access to them afterwards. Now, if you've got any questions about community mapping in general, this does not have to be about aDoddle. I'll share what I've learned, and I've got no problem in sharing any of that. But if it's about something else around community mapping, ask, because I'm happy to answer it for you. So, community and voluntary organisations, there are more than 1,500 charities and even more community groups and opportunities across the country. 47% are micro ones with an income of less than 10,000. Many of those do not have their own website. So how do you find them? Community mapping, the way we've done it, is about empowering people to find the help and support and opportunities they need when they need them most. Did you know that disconnected communities cost in the region of £32 billion per annum? And that was a report that was done by the Eden Project Communities. And poverty is said to be costing in the region of 78 billion per annum. And that was a report done by Joseph Rowntree Foundation. So again, we're happy to share where we got any of our resources from. But finding help online can be a challenge, and it's important to consider the unique circumstances of each person. What skills have they got? What are their individual needs? What are accessibility limitations? What happens when there's out of date or misleading content? There is nothing worse for somebody who is in crisis to find what they think is going to be help and support for them, only to discover that that project is out of date and is no longer running. But also there's information overload or struggle to find the information that they need. Every website is set up in a different layout and a different format, and that means that finding the information they want can be hard. So it's about being mindful of all of those factors. And this is one of those slides that we sort of said, is going to be text heavy. It's for everyone in every community, whether it's John who lives with a disability in a wheelchair, whether it's Lynn who was a teacher before she retired early due to ill health, or Sean who's ex-military. Please do come back and have a look at these case studies for people who are looking for help. We've got a few more of those slides in the presentation. So let's think about community mapping and why did we start? So back in 2010, I was a trainer helping people who'd been out of work long-term due to illness and disability. And I absolutely adored my work until I was told one day by one of my managers that a number of my clients were no-hopers and could no longer come in. That is wrong. Nobody is a no-hoper. Why is it easier to find a hotel or a restaurant on Google Maps when you can go to Google Maps, you can find a hotel or restaurant, put down you want Chinese, and you can make an informed choice on that. We wanted to make it as easy to find the help and support and the opportunities that existed within their communities. And the what? So what we did when we first realized that there was this opportunity to create something or a need to create something, we put the idea of creating an area-based community mapping charities, community groups and organisations in the global Sir Richard Branson challenge to Screw Business as Usual. And that idea was voted third from ideas from around the world. And we had other countries getting in contact with us. And that was back in 2012, before we'd even built the platform. That was part of our research. So how did we do it? We had simple conversations. We talked to people who were in communities who were in crisis. What did they need? How could we help them to find help and support? We listened, we heard, we listened again, we iterated. Literally cycle after cycle. We built our first platform and launched the first iteration of it in January 2016. And since then, we've been iterating again, always based on feedback that has come through. When the pandemic came, we reflected on what was needed, and what we were hearing was people actually wanted to know more about what was going on in their own community. If they visited a map, they wanted to see that it was their community. So whereas we had just had a UK-wide map, we then launched what is now the UK's first network of connected area-based community maps. We've got over 117 maps in areas across the UK. Some have got just a couple of profiles on them, and some have got lots. So it depends where we've got that interaction going and everything else. So it was multiple communities, multiple benefits, and the potential for huge impact. So some of the things that we have learned along the way, and this doesn't matter whether it's about us and aDoddle or something for you to think about if you're thinking of having your own community map, built or developed. One, keep it lean. Make it so that it's really easy. We interviewed other people or other organizations who had tried to build community mapping and who had sadly failed. Many of them had had very big budgets and grants to do it, and they'd had it for a 2 or 3 year period of time. And when that funding ran out, everything that they had done was no longer valid because the information on their platforms was out of date. And as I said earlier, there is nothing worse for somebody in crisis or somebody needing to find help or support is finding something and then discovering it's out of date. So keep it lean. We do it differently. We ask the organizations to add the information themselves. They create it. It's like a miniature website, but I'll come into that a bit further on. Keep it a standard format. We heard time and time again from people who had accessibility needs, or if they were in crisis, they struggled when they found websites to find where to find the right information. They didn't know, it might be on the back page of a website. It might be down this menu here and there. So we've done a standard format. The layout for all of the profiles on our maps are the same, so that once you've visited 2 or 3 profiles, you will know exactly where to go to find the information you're looking for. 3 was filters. How many directories and community maps out there have got filters there? People have got to answer a series of questions first, and the algorithms decide what information they're shown. Yet actually it might be that they needed something completely different than those things. By taking away those opportunities of people finding those things, you are actually reducing their chances of finding the support and opportunities that they need. Filters can be good, and our maps do have them, but they are not something that has to be used. 3. That information I've talked about being out of date. Well, we heard that time and time again. And so we are the only network that we know of that is using a unique traffic light system. Please feel free to let me know if you found somebody else. Every pinpoint on the map is a different colour. If it's green, it's been updated by the organisation in the last 6 months. That means you know how much you can trust it. If it's 6 to 12, it's turquoise. And if it's over 12 months, it's blue. This enables people to see instantly, once they understand the traffic light system, how much they can trust the information that's there. Now, you might ask, why do we keep blue profiles on there, or even grey, because we have a grey colour as well? We do because sometimes it might be that an organisation has had a key member of staff that was managing the profile before, and that member of staff has left and is not managing the profile anymore, but actually the organisation is still there. And if they've added links to their social media, it makes it very easy for somebody to check to see if that social media is still active. We then discovered that there are 5 key things that anybody needs to know if they're looking for help and support, if they're looking for somewhere to connect with others, or if they're looking for volunteering opportunities. So the 5 key things they want to know about any charity or community group or organisation is who they help, how they help, the difference they make, the help they need, and how to get in contact with them. And those things are key. So decisions for anybody are easier when you can see the whole picture. The internet is this amazing tool for us. But often, if you're having to look for a single charity, community group, or organisation anywhere on Google or Edge or Bing or Chrome, so you are putting in a search and you are keeping your fingers crossed that you will see something. You are seeing that mixed, broken up puzzle. Whereas by using mapping, which, if you think about it, Google has invested a huge sum of money in mapping because they know that it works. It's not just about finding your way from A to B, but it is finding those local businesses, those local restaurants and hotels and things like that. So we've utilized a behavior that people are already using. So decisions are easier when you can see the whole picture. The same data is actually on the community maps is helpful for anybody, no matter what their situation. And it benefits more than one sector. Is somebody in crisis? Are they struggling with isolation? Do they want to volunteer? Is it organisations looking for other organisations so they can potentially collaborate? Is it social prescribing? Is it resource mapping so that key authorities know what exists in their local community so that they know where there is need still or where there's duplication and they can best place their money, so for those key decision makers? And that includes the NHS, the police, the social services. But actually, it's also starting to include businesses who want to help their team members, their employees, to be able to find the same sort of help and support. So just as an example, we work with the CWU, which is the Postal Workers Union for the Western Counties. And they are utilising the maps to help their workers or their members to be able to find help and support, whether it's for them, a family member, or even somebody on their route when they're delivering post. So it can be used in a multitude of ways. Now, as I said at the beginning, there are some slides that are very text heavy. We have made it that you can download the whole presentation. So please, if you miss something, please do come back. Please do download it. You can get that from the Digital Leaders website, or actually it is here in this room as well. Thank you. So I'll sort of, it's about making sure no one gets left behind when everybody can find that help, find where they can give help and where they can connect locally. Now, every profile on aDoddle is like a miniature website. And as I said just now, by having that similar layout, it means that people can know where to look for the specific information. And if you can see in the background of here, you can see the 4 different profiles that are actually up on the platform, but actually they look quite different. They'll have a different header image. They'll have a different main color because organizations are able to partially brand their platform. So it doesn't look samey. Each one looks a little bit different. So this is just an example of some of the organisations from the Survivors Network, from Bristol Grandparent Sport, Suited and Booted, which we absolutely adore. They are the most amazing organisation. So no matter what the need, there is something there. Gift of a wedding. I mean, gifting free wedding services to people living in the UK with a terminal or life-limiting illness. It is so wide and varied. It is not just focusing on food banks or warm places. There is something there for everybody, and it is a growing resource. Again, this is another one of those pages just giving you little hints into case studies. So Dorothy is an older lady. She's been dealing with isolation after a family breakdown. Isaac wants his business to actually help and support. Alan and Joan are retired and they recently lost their son to suicide. These are all based on real stories that we've heard. We've just, we've used standard graphics and we've just made it, what's the word I'm trying to look for? There you are. I'm missing words, but hopefully you know what I mean. But again, please come back in and have a look. Community mapping is about empowering people. It's about being there for anybody, whatever their story is. It's about giving people choice, supporting them to find what it is they need when they need it, enabling volunteering, reducing isolation. But it's about that personal journey. Somebody who is struggling financially may not just need a food bank. Actually, they might be looking for connection because their situation is leaving them isolated. So actually finding the local gardening group, the local photography group, a cold water swim, to go and do something. It could be looking for something for their children. Everybody's journey is unique to them. And when we try to fit people into a box, we actually at times stop helping them because then they feel even more as though they're a burden to society. So aDoddle is 12 regions. We've identified over 400 different areas. And as I said earlier, we've got 117 different area maps at the moment. Organizations add their details once. Okay. Their profile is available whichever map somebody goes onto. So if somebody goes down onto a map in Cornwall and they've got a relative up in Scotland that they're looking for help and support for, they can scroll on that map up to Scotland and just refresh the page and they will see what's available in that area. Organisations also, if they cover a bigger, wider area or multiple areas across the country, have the ability to duplicate their initial master profile. Okay, so that makes work so much easier. There are multiple access points to the map. So we have our maps. So we have 117 of them. We also have a number of maps that we have then embedded onto other people's websites. So our maps can be like a map out of the box. And once you have connected with us and it's all been agreed, so there's a whole security system that needs to be gone through, but it's very easy from our perspective. We can give any domain permission to host one of the maps. And those maps can host either anything in that area or a specific need. So for example, we work with Plymouth Food Aid Network down in Plymouth, and that covers all the food aid opportunities down there, and it covers warm spaces as well. So it can be dropped into existing websites and they can choose which data it is. So as you can see here, so Plymouth Food Aid, that shows the ones there. We also work with Devon Local Nature Partnership, so helping to fulfill the requirements or the needs for the United Nations SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And so actually they've got a map with their local nature partnership. So it's around on the things all to do with the environment. Okay, where you can see the little purple symbols on the maps here. What this is it shows you that if you click on that, you will then, it will open up and you will see 2 more or 3 more, or whatever the number is of organisations there. So aDoddle maps are more than just asset-based community development. They are a cost-effective and lean approach because actually, as I've said, they can be dropped into any website. You don't need to pay for developers to develop it for you. We've done it. And what I'm sharing with you today is just the tip of the iceberg, the ability to do so many things, okay? There's a unique traffic light system, which I've talked about already, which helps people to know how up to date the information is. There's a full guides hub, and we run free workshops every month. The ability to have duplicate profiles, the ability to create lists and favorites, so anybody can create a free account on aDoddle and they can create lists of their favorites. And that means, so for example, down in Plymouth with the Plymouth Food Aid Network, they've created a list of the warm spaces and a list of the food support organisations down there. And then those lists can actually be downloaded. They could be printed. They can be saved as a PDF. They can be saved as an Excel sheet if you want to. Remembering that they're up to date on the day that you do that. So come back in and just update that. But there's the ability to do that. There is the ability for somebody who set up a profile, if they are leaving their role in an organization, to transfer that to somebody else within the team or to transfer it to another organization. So it is actually possible to transfer that. We've got a full system in place there that's all done online. Team permissions for managing profiles. So if somebody had, let's say, a library service across the Southwest, so say they've got 50 different libraries, and actually one person wants to manage all of those, but actually they would like to give permissions to people working in the different libraries to go in and update the Dawlish branch, for example, the Timoth branch, the Exeter branch. They can do that. They can give permissions to people to manage or to add different bits. They can select which bits those team members can have access to or not access to. But it means there is one managing person who still retains the control. If somebody leaves the organisation, then they can remove those permissions. All of the maps are connected. There are no borders or boundaries. What we've seen time and time again is that a local area will create a map or a directory for their area, but they will refuse to put it on something that's on the borders or just over the border. But it might be that thing just over the border was the thing that could have helped the person. By using a map as well, people can also see whether they can travel to these places. We've also got, if somebody has put their address on, so I'll explain that one in a second. So somebody's put their address on, then we've connected it to Google Maps so people can get directions so they can see public transport, walking, driving. And now I've forgotten the bit that I wanted to say about that. Oh, some organisations don't have to put their address in. Every organisation must put at least one contact detail, but an organisation, so when I say doesn't have to put their address in, they put an address in, but they can set it to hidden. And then we recommend that they just move the point slightly so that it's not actually showing the original address that was there. That is, it might be Women's Aid, it might be a food bank that doesn't have actual visitors to it that takes food out to people. It could be an organisation that's run from somebody's home and they don't want to give that. So we have all of that in there. Map and tech updates are made available for all aDoddle maps. Sometimes we are asked by organisations to create a bespoke piece of tech for them. We never charge a huge amount for it because we then make that tech available for every single map across the country. We don't hold it for just one organisation. Benefits of co-production. I honestly recommend that if this interests you, please come back and read it. I'll skip through to the next one or we'll be here for ages. Value and impact for people and communities. So we had an external consultant look at the work that we were doing, and we actually run on a very minimal budget, very lean. They looked, we've got nearly 3,000 organisations on the map. And if you value that every organisation, their free profile can be used as a mini website. So smaller organisations do not have to pay for development of a website. They don't have to pay for a domain name. They don't have to pay for hosting. They don't need to have any website development time done for a volunteer. It's a very simple profile creation. It's an easy master profile duplication for multiple locations. people can get in contact with them directly through aDoddle. They can choose to put a contact us button on their profile, and that will go directly to them. It does not come to us. The ability for partial branding, the access to the free profile header templates in Canva, the free guides hub, free marketing, increased opportunity to be found. That external consultant valued that a profile was worth between £600 and £1,600 per organisation, per profile. Let's be honest, for some organisations, they may say, we've got a website, we don't need it. And other organisations, it has saved them the development costs. So let's go on the minimum charge of that at 600. That means that last year we gave a social impact and value in the region of 1.8 million to the charity and community sector. And that does not touch the people that found help and support and found opportunities in their local community. So this is a page about the annual license fees. You will see from here that there is nothing here that is actually an exorbitant fee for anybody. These prices are right at this point in time, and they will be going up in the next 12 months. Anybody who is with us at this earlier stage will stick on the level that they came in. It will only go up with the general levels of increase. And I've forgotten that wording again, but don't worry, I'm sure you know what I mean. But you won't go to the higher levels coming up. Please do feel free to take a look. Now, we worked out these prices very realistically. We looked at the saving to a local council or community or an area if somebody was, say, out of work and they are getting the benefits, and then it means they're not paying tax and national insurance. It means they're not putting back into it. The general recognised figure of the cost of somebody who is over 23 to benefits, not paying that tax and national insurance, etc., is £15,400 per person. Now let's look at, say, level 6. That's the most expensive one. Okay, that's £18,000 a year for having that there. Well, let's just say you got 4 people who found their way back into work because they found help and support and everything else. You have more than covered your costs, and everything else, every other benefit is actually just pounds in your pocket. You might be saving time in the housing benefit office or in the job centre by people when they come in who are saying that they need help and support, by you pointing them in the direction of the community map so that people can find that help and support, or making it easier for your team to find what is available there. So you've got time saved as well. Another one of these. So Elena has been a carer for her younger disabled sister since her parents passed away 7 years ago. She's found a weekly support group for her sister and is now looking for some respite for herself and a place to connect with others. Each one of these stories here is based on a real person. Now, what other service except for community mapping would actually be there that could be of benefit for all of them, could help them, could empower them to find that help and support themselves, or a family member or a community networker? Community mapping has an incredible power to help and support people. We've got a few of these pages now, the potential for social impact at a glance. We've given you a few pages of examples. So again, please do download this and have a look. Okay, what is the outcome if somebody does not find help, and what happens when they do find help? So please do take a look at these. We've got Dorothy, we've got Marvin, and then you've got Layla. So these are 4 examples, case studies that you can come into and see the difference in the impact if people are empowered to find that help and support. The maps also support, as we mentioned earlier, with the UN SDGs for 2030. And it also supports the World Health Organization, the Commission on Social Connection, by helping to reduce isolation. We are looking at, if anybody here attending this today or watching this as the replay, we are looking at the potential for setting up a quarterly multi-organisation mapping group meeting. Let's see, we would love to hear what are your barriers to doing things? What do you need in your community? What does aDoddle not help with? Or what does the solution that you're doing now, what is better? How can we create this and take this to the next level? Because this isn't just about aDoddle. This is about, and it isn't just about, the work that each and every one of you do. It's about What is the difference that we can make to people and communities? How can we empower people to find those things, to not need to go to the doctor's surgery to get the help and support, to not need to call the police because they're isolated, to not need to call an ambulance, but to actually improve the quality of their lives by helping them to find local community groups and organisations where they can make friends, they can gain connection, they can boost their confidence and self-esteem, they can move back into work, no matter what it is. Community mapping is there for people there. So we're now going to go sort of thank you and any questions. And I do hope that you found the presentation bit at the top, that you scrolled up. I'm sorry I forgot to say that during it. I get onto a roll. For those of you who are at the beginning, there's myself and there's Amber. Amber is going to read out any questions that you put into the chat, and we're here to answer those for you. And if you're watching at a later date, please download and get in contact with us, because I'm happy to answer any questions for you. Okay, here's some
Lovely.
references, and please do get in contact. Together we can, and communities are stronger. So, Amber,
Thanks, Jackie.
please scroll down into the room, and then we can be in the room together. So, thank you.
Yeah, no, that was great, Jackie. Thank you. Don't worry, I've been keeping up to date in the chat and letting people know if they were joining midway through that to scroll up to the presentation, or you can join us in the room here. Priscilla's just asked a question in the chat for you. She says, I'm curious about your method to gather the data to keep the profiles up to date. What is your process? What happens if you don't hear from a community for more than 12 months?
Okay, so what happens is organizations add their profiles themselves. That is their choice. So we're meeting, the data protection and the GDPR. They are choosing what they choose to share. Whereas what used to happen with directories and other platforms is that they would be added by a member of the team, and that organization was not having a choice about what was being shared about them. So that's step one. The organization does that. What we do is every 2 weeks before it gets to the 6-month time, when the traffic light changes, we send out an automatic reminder to remind the organization about coming in and checking their information and the data, making any updates that are necessary, and then clicking save again. And that resets that to green for the next 6 months. They won't hear from us again until another sort of 26 weeks have gone. So it's about that. By allowing the organizations to put that data there, they are choosing what they share. We don't have the ability to go in and to go, have they shared everything 100% correctly? But we do have the ability for the community to say, oh, we went to this profile, there was a problem here, this didn't quite marry up, and we can then try and get in contact with them directly. The information, by having that traffic light system, it manages people's expectations. That turquoise and that blue reminds people that this hasn't been updated for a little while. So please be a little bit more wary about it. Please, if they've added their social media links, go and check out their social media. See if they're still being active on there. You can then get in contact with the organization either directly through our get in touch button, which, as I say, goes directly to them. It does not come to us. Or if they have got social media, get in contact with them through their social media. So it helps in that way, shape and form. Does that answer your question enough, Priscilla? Or is there a bit that I need to clarify?
Oh, Priscilla has said, I understand. It's a good idea to give them the authority to edit their own profile. Thank you.
That's all right. I think it's a really difficult one, because the organization knows best how they help and the difference they make, which is, is really, really very, what makes us a little bit more unique. We try to encourage the organizations to really tell the story of what they do. And it's those 5 key things: who they help, how they help, the difference they make, the help they need, and how to get in contact. Amber, are there any more questions there? But I also know we had some questions before the event sent through from people who weren't going to be able to attend live, but had questions.
Yeah, well, I'll just wait and see if anything comes through from those that are attending live, and I can read you one that was sent in beforehand. So we've got a question here that says, you make aDoddle free for people, organisations and communities to use. Why should a council pay an annual licence fee for the maps?
I think it's an incredible question, and I can see why a council may go, our budgets are really tight. We don't see the point when this is free and we can just point them to aDoddle. We would say that actually the license fees are not expensive, not in the grand scheme of things. And you then have the permission, if you've got a license fee, you then have the permission to, or the ability then to say to us, we'd actually quite like to put it on this website here and this website here, and here are the domains that we would like it to go on. And we will then authorize those domains to have the map, and we will send you the code in an iframe that can be added to any website. So you would give that to your developers so it can be dropped in there. I think it's the right thing to do. We are a community interest company with a fixed asset lock. And so we have a thing that at the point that we make surplus funds, those funds will actually be reinvested back into communities across the country in the areas where we have seen there is need, because the more that the maps grow and develop, the bigger the picture will be about showing where there's duplication, where there's need still, where there are potential organisations that could connect and collaborate, where there's a project that is of excellence that's showing this is working amazingly that could be replicated in another area. So if you think about this, this has the ability and the potential to save money across the board and to make things so much more accessible for people. But also that thing about being able to replicate a project that's working really well in one part of the country and see how that's working and be able to replicate it in another part of the country and make a few tweaks for your own community, because not everything is exactly the same. The needs aren't the same. So I think it is about trust. Now, as we go along, we will be on the area maps. We will be putting like a little logo on that shows that it is supported by the local council. So we will be doing something there that helps to show who has and who hasn't. Especially, but we've got no way of making them do that. But I think logistically, if you think that just if on the highest license fee, if just 4 people were moved back into work and came off benefits, that would save more than the money they've actually invested, and that's over a whole year.
Yeah, brilliant. I've got a question from Arthur. Thank you for joining, Arthur. He says, could publicly available information be added by volunteers? London might have many organisations not included yet.
Oh, I think definitely. Actually, we're working with an amazing organisation who we've just done another 3 maps for, actually. We're working with Turning Point. And what they are doing is team members there are getting in contact with organisations and saying, we will create your profile for you to start with through our team, through our volunteers. And then, because we've got the full system in place where they can transfer the ownership of a profile, those profiles are now starting to be transferred over to the organisation. So actually, Turning Point and their team are helping to create them and put them on, but then they're transferring them over to the organisations. So yes, of course, that is possible, but I would say it's worth, they are actually checking with the organisations that they're happy for that to be done. So yes, very definitely, and we've seen that done in a few areas. Another thing that we've seen that could be just a helpful hint and tip that we share is there's one area in the country, and I can never remember which it is when I'm alive. And what they did is they've got like a membership organisation for community groups and organisations in their area. And they ask those members when they join to do 3 things. I can remember 2 of them. One is sign up to their mailing list. 2 is create a profile on aDoddle, which costs nothing. And what they've done is their area has very quickly become populated with organisations, and actually they're not even needing to use volunteers to put the profiles on. So actually, I think if there is an area, a council, where you've got your councillors or your MPs, especially those who've got those small budgets to be able to allocate money to local groups and community organisations, you make it a part of them getting that grant or that funding, that they create their profile, and for the length of time they've got that money for, they need to keep that profile green. So you make it, it's just a sentence that goes into that grant application form. You could even, if somebody is applying for a grant, put it in at the point where somebody's applying for the grant. So you can actually put in some of these tiny little bits. It's about keeping it lean for everybody. But yes, volunteers putting on profiles, absolutely brilliant. And I'm more than happy to have a call with you to talk about some of the experiences we've had with different
Yeah,
areas.
brilliant. That kind of leads me to a question that we had previously, and you may have already answered it quite well, but it's how can local authorities encourage those charities and organisations to create profiles on aDoddle?
I think it's about, you know, I was going to say emotional blackmail, but I don't mean that really. Please strike that from the record. I think it is if there is funding available. I think it is about putting it in the newsletter. If a local or authority is sending out a regular email, so just every Friday I get an email from the Timbridge District Council because it's the area I live in. Now, just imagine if at the bottom of that, just in the signature, was automatically there, local community group or organisation, have you put your profile on the map yet? Then we've got one organisation. What they're doing is they're offering that they will do a £50. I think it's just an Amazon voucher, but a £50 voucher for the best one that goes up in a certain period of time. So I think there are these little things, but it doesn't have to be a financial reward. It could be add your profile to the month in this next month, or update your profile to green, and we are going to feature one organisation next week in or next month in our local community newsletter that goes out. So you're actually encouraging the growth of the organisations going onto the map, but you're also making it that the people in the communities know that the map's there. So you could word it in different
Yeah,
ways.
absolutely. I'm not sure if there's any other questions from anyone in the room. I have a couple more for you if you're ready to have them, Jack.
I'm happy to answer.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy to
Okay,
say
no
it will
worries.
be on the
Okay,
recording.
so
So
what kind of
thank
support or
you.
training is available for local authorities to implement aDoddle maps?
Oh, so as part of the license fee, um, we will do 2 or 3 different training with their team members with them during the year. So they can set that up and they can tell us what it is their team needs. But also, I think it's really important to remember every month we do 2 free workshops. So one will be on how to add or update a profile, and another one will be about something like how do you create duplicates? How do you set up the transfer? How do you give permissions for team? How do you create a header to go on your profile? It's all little things like that, and we're planning on doing one, but it probably won't be till the autumn now, on AI and the best use of AI to help organizations to use AI in a safe way that can actually help them to tell their
Yeah,
story
yeah.
effectively.
Okay, another one. How does aDoddle
Yeah.
handle accessibility for diverse user groups, including those with disabilities or limited digital skills?
Okay, so let's be really open and really honest here. Is we have done our best with our accessibility, and I'm dyslexic, autistic, ADHD, and to me, everything needs to be set out in a way that is user friendly. Is in fact, if you were to scroll up to the top, you'd see an image that is actually very bright. I'm not really into very bright colours because I can find them distracting, but it's about using things in a way, having a good accessible font, having uh, gosh, my brain is going, it's the afternoon. Line spacing is really important, making sure that's there, the layout, the setup. We have done our best to make it as accessible as possible, and we've actually got something, I think it's called User Way, on the website, so people can change the font color, the fonts, the colors, and all sorts of different bits and pieces they can do on it. I think the best advertisement that we had was, we've done some work with West Berkshire Council, and one of the people who was on the steering group for that, an amazing lady, was blind. And she actually went on and she put her profile up for her organisation. In fact, she put up for 3 different organisations. And then she helped other people to put their profiles on, and she taught them. And so she gave us some little bits of feedback, which we did some tweaks. And we know that there is always going to be feedback. We're not going to have it 100% right for everybody. We know that we can make it better. But once we hear feedback, we do our best to implement those things as quickly as possible. If it's something we can do on the day, we will do it on the day. If it's something that's part of a slightly bigger update or upgrade,
Yeah, we
then
know how
we'll put it
important it
in with
is,
that
don't
and
we,
we'll make it
Jackie?
a priority.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Is there any other questions in the chat? Because I think that's everything
Yes,
that I've got for you. It might
definitely.
be, is it a good time to show people around aDoddle website?
Yes, right. Let me work out what I need to do on that screen. I think I need to go there and escape. So let's show you. If you want to scroll back up to the top again, so that you can see the top, feel free. You can see the website. So this is the aDoddle homepage. And this is another benefit for organizations that are green. You can see this bar that scrolls along. We only highlight profiles that are actually green here. If a profile has gone to turquoise or blue, it stops showing in this bar. And these will actually take somebody directly to a profile. You can start searching straight up here. In here, you can put an area. You can add to the map. If you want to find out more about the licenses, this is where you can access it. Events and workshops are here. We also have a free awareness days calendar, which means that if you're thinking about doing something to go on the back of an awareness day, you can come on here, you can see what's going on, which is quite helpful. And searching, you can begin your search again. You can come to here, area community maps. This shows you the 12 different areas. So there are 12 different regions, and you can come on here and you can go to each of the regions and see the maps. Let me show you a couple of profiles. I think that's most important. This is for Share a Shed, a library of things. So you can see that you've got the traffic light here. You can see the different categories that they're under. You can see the different pages. It's like a mini website, the overview, what they do. Okay, this one's just said check our website to do it, but they've made that a link. Volunteer, they've said about that. They've shared other media. So they've just shared this one here. You'll see address. Okay, so it's got the address in here. You can get the directions if it's got an address. Opening hours. It tells you their opening hours and how to get in contact. And this is the get in touch button that we talked about, which is here or here. And the organisation chooses whether they show that or not. So that's one profile. Let's go to Bristol Grandparents Sport. So it looks a little bit different main colour, different heading image. Again, you've got all the information, but they've also added additional information. And their additional information, they've shared links to other groups that may help and support people, which is actually a really lovely way of doing it. And then who needs instructions? So you can see the layout is the same, but they look different because they've got that different header image. Now, some profiles do, some profiles don't. The information about the map licenses is you can find out more about here. And if you want to request a call to find out what's there, then you can do that. Please do get in contact with Amber will share in the chat in a minute links to the homepage, to the guides hub. Actually, I didn't put a link to the guides hub here. How to connect with me on LinkedIn if you've got any questions, or you can email me. We've also got so that's that's where I am there. Recently, I was interviewed for a podcast on A Better Way. Feel free, go and listen to that. You'll hear the story of how it happened and how we developed it. And then on my LinkedIn profile, there are a couple of helpful blogs, Unlocking Connection and How Community Mapping Can Close the Digital Divide, and then on co-production. So, yeah, hopefully that is all helpful. So I'm going to scroll back down the room. Does anybody have any other questions, or shall I leave you to
Well, I'll
have
just
your
wait
end
for
of the
any of
day?
those
It
to
must
come in.
be
I'm just making sure I put
yes,
those links in the
definitely
chat
getting
for
towards the
anyone
end of
that's
the day
still
now.
joined with
So, but
us
I'm
here
happy to answer any
today.
other questions. While you're still here in the room, feel free to scroll down if you want to, and you will see the presentation about the presentation slides. Here's our chat bot. Feel free to come in here and ask any questions. we did say at the beginning that it was being recorded. There's a couple of videos that we've had done by an amazing student from Bournemouth University. So you can see things about it and the benefits for charities and benefits of having a license. That benefits for charities might be a useful one to share if you're trying to local organisations to get on the map. If you want to find us on social media, you can find us through these links here. And then this takes you to the Guides Hub here. I'm not going to press that link at the moment, but actually, yeah, but feel free. Please do have a wander around. You can come back to this room. It won't be sort of closed and changed until your next digital leaders. We're going to keep it here for digital leaders so that you can come back in and find any of those things and download.
That's okay,
Now,
no worries.
Amber,
At the
I
very
can't
bottom of the
remember
screen in that little
on
control
the little
panel,
bit at the
there should be
bottom where
a
people
keyhole-shaped
find the
icon that says
download,
My
the
View.
bit to download it
If you can
directly
click
in
on
here.
that, you should then find, I think it's a cloud icon, which says Files, and you can download the PDF straight from there.
Or you
Amazing. We've
can
got
download it
people
from
saying
digital
thank you. We've
leaders.
got James saying
Thank
thank
you
you.
ever so much for joining us today. If anybody wants to stay on and turn their camera on and ask some questions, but I'm going to stop the recording now. So thank you.